2, 1. Hello,
we are Project Communication, and we are perfectly imperfect.
I'm Linda.
I'm Sherry.
And I'm Mary. This is an introduction to the first of a series of videos. Linda?
Okay, this video is the first in our series in the topic of bullying. We started out making the first video as a one-off, but soon realized that we needed to go deeper into the topic if we really wanted to do it justice.
Now, we usually try to bring humor into our videos, but the topic of bullying isn't high on most people's lists of humorous things. In this first video, we share some of our experiences with bullies, not the worst experiences for any of us that we've had, but a variety of things that happened to us. Frankly, a couple of them were kind of funny.
Yeah, unfortunately. In later videos, we will take a look at different types of bullying, what we can do about bullying, and if it's possible to break the cycle of bullying.
We realize for some people this topic and some of our stories may be triggering.
Excuse me.
That is not our intent. If you find yourself being triggered, even by our introduction, please take a moment, pause, look for someone that you can talk to and help you through it. It is possible to work through your emotions, to work through your experiences, and come to the other side of things. And some of us did, didn't we? And
Yes,
we found
we
humor
all
in
did.
it.
We've been there now. We're here. Are we cured? No, but we are in a position to be able to help. At the end of the second, third, and fourth videos, we will include some resources that you may find useful.
If you have comments regarding this or future videos, please share them in the comments section or send us an email at studioprojcom, that's studio, PROJCOM, at gmail.com. Thank you. Today, we're going to be telling you stories about our encounters with bullies.
Yes, we are.
And Sherry's going to go first.
I am going to go first. First of all, before I start with my story, I have to tell you something about myself that you might not know. I really like chocolate.
Yeah, okay.
You knew that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I like milk chocolate, dark chocolate, whatever. The other flavor I like is cherry. By the way, where's my cherry sucker?
Right here.
Oh, thank you, thank you. She knows that I like these, so I get a cherry sucker. And you know, I'm 59 years old, and I do not care if that seems juvenile that I like my cherry suckers. Anyway, so to begin my story, this takes place when I was in about 6th grade in a small conservative school. We had pretty big classrooms. We had probably 31 kids in our class. So the teacher was tasked was trying to keep, all these kids in line, So one day I had a lot of respect for this teacher. I really liked her. She was always fun. She was always friendly. She was always giving us little things like chocolate. So she one day, for some reason, she gave everybody a candy bar, a full-size candy bar. And I thought, oh, this is so awesome. And then she attempted to get 31 kids to stand in line and listen after they had a candy bar. So anyway, we're in line talking, and she's, trying to get her attention. Of course, no one's listening. All of a sudden, my friend, Kim Bright, I shouldn't have said the last name. It was a long time ago. But anyway, she says, I don't want the rest of this candy bar. Does anybody want it? And I'm like, ooh, I do, I want it. And she looks at me, anybody want this candy bar? And I'm like, I do. She looks right at me. Does anybody else want this candy bar? And all of a sudden, I got angry, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to stand up for myself. So I walk over to her. She's taller than me. I jump up in the air, fling that out of her hand, and said, I do. So I got the candy bar, and my friend instantly goes, oh, did you see what she did? Miss Bingen, she took the candy bar right out of my hand without my permission. And I was like, oh, you little, probably not a nice word for a 6th grader. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I'm standing with my 2 candy bars. I don't really care about the chocolate at this point. So I was hurt. And I was irritated. She could have at least said, well, let somebody else try to get it. You will, whatever. But no, she didn't even acknowledge me. I felt totally deleted. And, all of a sudden, Miss Bingen, who had it, trying to get attention, comes marching over. Did you take the candy bar? Yes, I did. She snatched it out of my hand, plus the one I had. And I don't remember if she gave it back to Kim or what she did with it. And it's kind of a funny story, but I was totally deflated. I felt totally crushed, like I was going inwards. Because not only now was I bullied once, but I was bullied twice. And when I tried to stand up for myself, I was crushed. So that's pretty much, and today, it's still bothering me a little bit. We went on to be friends, Kim and I. Kids are silly that way, they do things, but I still remember it, and I remember very well how I felt about it. So that's my story.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Wow. Be bullied by a teacher. That's tough.
Yeah.
That is tough. Linda, are you ready to go?
Well, I thought you were going to go.
Okay, I will go next. I want to say that when Linda and Sherry and I started talking about the next subject for our podcast, and the subject of bullies came up, I wasn't thrilled. Whenever the subject of bullies comes up, there's one incident in my life that is right there in front of my mind. And it's not a episode that I care to remember, and I only shared it before that time that we were talking about it. I had only shared it with my husband. I eventually did share it with Sherry and Linda, because I trusted them and I felt safe and supported in their company. And I know that for most of you, there might be an episode like that in your life as well. I'm not going to tell you about that episode. I have some other episodes that I can share with you, but I'm telling you about that now to let you know that it's okay not to share that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that after Linda tells her story too. We can talk about that a little bit later, but there are types of bullying that we all recognize. They're the easy to spot ones. When somebody shoves somebody or pushes them into a locker or hits them or calls them a name. Those are easy to spot. But there are also instances that are maybe not quite so obvious. They're a little more subtle. When you didn't get invited to go to a movie and you found out later that all of your friends went, or when you are in school and the teacher asks a question and you raise your hand and she doesn't call on you repeatedly, or your friend offers to share a candy bar and doesn't invite you to take it. That's, might not be an obvious type of bullying, but let's face it, you've been bullied. It's sad to say that for a lot of us, especially if we were not the oldest in the family, one of the first places that we do get bullied is at home, especially if we're not the oldest. I had two older siblings, a brother and a sister, 5 and 6 years older than me. And I'm going to tell you about 2 instances that occurred there. My older brother never really paid much attention to me, never had a nice thing to say either, at least while we were kids. And one Sunday morning, I think it might have been Easter because I had a new hat and maybe new shoes. Anyway, he looked at me and he said, "Oh, you look pretty." And I was stunned. I was about to say thank you when he added, "Pretty awful." Oh, and I was like you said, deflated. But like I said, my brother hardly ever said anything at all to me, let alone anything nice. Another instance happened with my older sister. Now, I had a younger brother and sister too, and on this particular occasion, I was sharing with my younger brother a way that I had come up with an alternate way to make cereal for breakfast. Now, I'm not talking hot cereal, I'm talking cold cereal. And I have to admit, there's really not much to making cold cereal. You put the cereal in the bowl, pour in the milk, sprinkle a little sugar, and you're done. But I had come up with a new twist.
Oh.
You put the milk in first, then you add the cereal. So, wow, pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Radical. So, I mean, look out Martha Stewart. But my older sister walked into the kitchen at about the time that I had poured the milk into the bowl. And she looked at us and she said, "What do you think he is, a cat?" And she started laughing. But I tried to explain, but she kept laughing and walked out of the kitchen, laughing her head off. It is kind of funny.
It's funny,
But
Mary.
I tried to explain, and she just wouldn't hear anything. And again, I felt kind of deflated, and that, I wasn't being respected for the brilliant mind that I was. So, and I think that's why those two, yeah, go ahead and laugh. It is funny. But, my older siblings, who I looked up to, were not respecting me. So I did feel kind of awful about it. So during my years after that, I would see other kids being bullied, either subtly, like happened to me, or more obviously. I wasn't always in a position where I could do anything about it, but when I could, I tried. There was a time when I was in about 7th grade when my folks had said that I could have a birthday party. I could invite some girls from my class. And one of my classmates asked me to show her the list that I'd made up, the guest list. I had a few names on there. So I showed her the list. A few minutes later, she had handed it back to me, and I was shocked to see that she had crossed off two names from the list. And I looked at it and I just was surprised. How dare she cross off 2 names from the list of my party? So it took a minute or two, but I finally wrote something on the list and I handed it back to her. What I had done was I'd written those 2 girls' names back on the list, but I crossed her name off.
Ooh.
Now, I don't remember if I actually did invite her or not to the party when it came down to it, but I remembered it felt good to turn it back around on her. Now, I never did understand. I mean, as I grew older and I saw bullies, kids who were bullies, growing into adults who were bullies. And I never understood why somebody who experienced the pain of being bullied, becoming somebody who would inflict that pain on somebody else. I studied psychology in college. I understand that it happens. I don't understand why. I never have understood why. And I don't think there is any one solution on dealing with a bully, but I think when it comes down to it, we have to empower ourselves. And we'll talk more about that when Linda tells her story too.
Okay, so I have 2 stories about being bullied, and they were both in school. The first one was my 4th grade teacher. She was a stout German lady. And you had to learn as she wanted you to learn. And if you didn't learn the way she wanted you to learn, or in the time frame, she would literally pull my ear and lift me off my chair. And I endured the whole year with that woman. And I was humiliated. And it didn't help me to learn any faster because I have a learning disability. And back then they didn't recognize that. So many kids were literally tortured because there was no compassion with some of these teachers. The second main time that I was bullied, I was in high school. In a little background, I had moved into a foster home, and everybody else in high school had their little cliques, and I come trooping in, this wayward child that was in a foster home, and how dare I must have done something horrible. Other than the fact is I left my home to protect myself. So I'm in school. It was probably into 4-5 months, and I had made friends with some of these young girls. And all of a sudden, they turned on me. They just turned on me, and I was tormented. I was called names. I was pushed into the locker and locked in. Just so many different ways. And my foster mom started recognizing that I wasn't as happy as I was normally, and that I was avoiding going to school. And one day she sat me down and she says, "What's going on? You're not talking about your friends anymore." And I told her. And she, unbeknownst to me, she went to the principal. Now, this is the first time an adult stood up for me. So when she says, "Linda, we're going to the principal's office and you're going to tell him what you told me." Now, we get there and my knees are knocking and my voice is shaking and I'm telling him, and then he says, before I can do anything to discipline her, the main ringleader, and this is where the the mob mentality comes in. It only took one person to start it where everybody else followed. That's a mob mentality. And so he says, "You need to speak to her straight to her face." And I'm like, I don't think so. And he goes, "No, we'll be here to support you." Now you gotta understand, his office was like the size of a closet. So my chair and my foster mother's chair is like right next to the wall. And my knees are almost touching his desk in front of us. And he had just enough room to get to sit down at his desk. This is how small it is. So he calls her in. And we all move our chairs down to let her in. And she came in with this happy little smile, like, until she saw me. And it just drained. And that's when I realized I had all the power over her. And so the principal is saying, "Now, Linda, you need to share with her what you told us." And I started to laugh. I started to laugh. And then I'm looking at the horror on my classmate's face. I looked at the horror on my foster mother's face, and I'm looking over at the principal, and they're all got this look on their face like, I don't know if she's going crazy or what. It made me laugh even harder, okay? And every time I went to say something, all I could do was laugh. So I don't know why they didn't send me to the nurse's station. I was just like, I couldn't stop laughing. And so everybody files out, and I go back to the classroom, and there wasn't a peep from anybody. I'll tell you, those halls must have been resounding with, "She's crazy! Don't mess with her!"
I love it.
So yeah, I laugh at the darndest times, and it does upset some people sometimes, but
You know, what can I say? That's what this makes me so lovely.
That is one way to deal with it.
Well, she knew she had no power over you in that moment.
No, and I knew
And
that
I love
I did. And you know, and I look at now in today's, well, even with my kids growing up, the bullies got away with everything. And then when you stand up to defend yourself, who gets expelled?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the bully
Or their candy taken away.
or the candy takeaway. But I got my sucker. Can you just see her? Sherry Sharp, can you just see her jumping up? I did. I had to literally choke to get it. But yeah, so that's my story. Everybody has some bully stories, and it's a big topic. It really is a big topic.
It really is. And I think what I was going to add as in a way of summing up, we always like to do a summary at the end of our stories, and which is one reason that we're all telling our stories together for this one especially, is that one of the things that we can do and share with you is that to go to the bully, to confront the bully, if you can confront the bully, that's one thing, like you did. I probably, even though I think the bully in my instance that I'm not sharing is still around. I know who she is, I know where she is, but I've chosen to keep the instance within me, and actually, in a way, I feel that remembering it and dealing with it within myself, and I'm at a place of where I feel comfortable in keeping it to myself, that I feel that empowers me to that she, the bully, has no power over me. I can decide to interact. I don't know if she even remembers it.
No, she probably doesn't.
And if that's the case, I'm okay with it. I have my memory of the incident, and I'm at peace with it, and that's my superpower in this case. That holding up, if there ever is a time where I have an opportunity to speak about it, especially with her, I would say, this is what I remember, this is how it made me feel, and it doesn't hurt me anymore. And holding up that what I call the mirror of truth, and that accountability to that bully is the thing. And whether it's only in my heart and not to her, I'm comfortable with that. And I think that's a way that you can deal with a bully, even if you cannot or are not in a position to confront them actually physically.
Well, bullies act out of fear. That's their whole agenda. They're fearful, and they don't have a good self-worth. And what they're doing then is projecting that onto somebody else so they can feel powerful. And I'm assuming our target audience here is adult people, but if there's teenagers, a teenager or a child being bullied, it's our duty as adults to step up and get them some help, because ignoring it doesn't make it go away.
There, excuse me. There are a few things that are more damaging, especially to a younger person, than bullying. There's many more stories I could tell that were more painful, but they're still so painful I don't want to go there. But they do need to be told how they're making people feel. You know, and I think bullying, I think it's a little better now. Because I just think of the bullying that went on in a small Catholic school 45 years ago or whatever, and it's like, wow, that would have never flown today. So in some ways, I think they're trying to nip it, although you get a lot of online.
There's a lot of online bullying going
it's
on.
terrible.
But I personally feel that if we're not addressing that pain that we're still carrying from that bully, we're actually giving our power away to that bully.
Yes.
And that energy of the shame, the guilt, the angst of it all, it sits in our body. It literally sits in the cells of our body, and it is so important we need to reclaim ourselves and not make that bully our life story. We want to be survivors.
Right.
We don't want to, and we want to thrive. And just surviving isn't thriving. So it's really, really, really important, I believe, to address this.
I do too. And I wanted to say another thing. I think one of the worst things about being bullied is that once you have the nerve to confront it or talk about it, or people are like, that was so long ago. So then you're re-bullied. Then you feel foolish for, like me, it was a candy bar. It's silly, but I remember the pain in the moment. I really don't care about the candy bar.
Right,
But
it's
yeah,
not the candy bar.
It's not.
not the
It
candy
was
bar.
the way I was treated, and that's hurtful, and it sticks with somebody. And it doesn't matter how much time has passed. You could go, like with sexual assault too. Well, why didn't they say something 20 years ago or 30 years ago or 10 years ago? Because they didn't want to.
It was a different, when you think about what the world was like 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 35 years ago, it's a different atmosphere, and easily people would not have been bullied. Women, especially girls, would not have been bullied. Look what's going on right now.
They're still not being believed. You have to
yeah.
have evidence. You have to prove it. You have to prove that he did it. And you're looking at him going, so how do we have a witness to a rape?
Right.
Or child abuse?
They're essentially raped again.
They're raped again. And so, we really need to stand up and find our authentic voice. Find it with somebody. If you can't share it, then just find one person to confide in. If you need to go to therapy, go to therapy. It is so imperative that we stand up and take ownership of our own life and not give it over to the bullies. Now that teacher is long gone, but I remember this year always being pulled and lifted off my chair, and all the other kids are like this, looking. They were ashamed. I was ashamed because I could not learn the way she wanted me to.
Again, and what you have to do, the self-empowerment and the self-forgiveness, it's not your fault.
Right.
Not your fault.
Yeah.
But you get to make a choice now. You get to decide that you're going to work through it, get it, release it, and so you can talk about it where the tears don't come, or that the heart isn't boom, 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 boom. That's when you know you have succeeded.
It should also never be your shame what somebody else did to you. And that's with current events too. People don't have that much power over you. They may have physical power over you, but mentally it's up to you. You do not need to own that shame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So, remember, we are
Project Communication.
and we are perfectly
Imperfect.
So, thanks for listening.
And remember,
Yes, we remember.
Ray of sunshine.
And be sure to like this podcast, share it with your friends and family, share it with somebody you maybe don't like so much, maybe share it with your bully, and hope that you hit the notification bell so you're also notified for the next podcast that comes around.
And comment.
Please
Yeah,
comment.
please do.
Share with us what's going on in your life.
And if you're empowered to share about a bullying incident that you were victimized by, please do so. It's a safe place for you to do that.
And we're here for you.
Thanks.
We're all beads on one string. Every man, every woman, boy and girl. Beads on one string. We're one world. I touch, you touch. We feel so much. We hurt and we heal. We know love is real. You dream, well I dream. We plan, sometimes scheme. Oh, how we love to eat. And everyone has to sleep, 'cause we're all beads on one string. Every man, every woman, boy and girl. On one string, we're one